Hi there, this is Kaushik Ranchod from the Ranchod Law Group. Welcome to our immigration show. Today I'm going to be talking about a misrepresentation waiver, fraud waiver. If you've committed fraud or misrepresentation, and we're assuming you're applying for a green card in this video, then how do you overcome that? How do you be forgiven for that mistake? Stay tuned, watch the video until the end because I'm going to talk about the requirements, not only that, but I'm going to show you where we were able to obtain that waiver as well. So let's start off with how do you qualify, in what situations do you need this kind of waiver? So there's a few situations where I see people needing this waiver. One situation may be if you were here or you came in the United States on a visitor visa and you were working unlawfully and then you re-entered and that comes up the port of entry, that officer may charge you with misrepresentation or fraud. And in that situation, that's where you may need a waiver. Another situation may be if you entered on someone else's passport or used someone else's immigration documents. Now, one important thing to note here is that after September 30th, 1996, if you said you were a US citizen, there is no bar to that, or using documents indicating that you're a US citizen. There's not a bar for that. There's a very narrow exception for that, but in most situations, there is not a waiver for that. So, otherwise, in the prior situations that I mentioned, you may be eligible for a waiver, which is great news. So that way you can still get a green card. You have to file a waiver application. What we do is prepare a legal brief outlining why you should qualify based off of the hardships to your US citizen spouse or parent. Now you may ask, well, what about my child? Can I make an argument based off of them? Well, a child is not a qualifying relative. There may be an exception for VAWA applicants, but in most situations, a child is not considered a qualifying relative. But what we like to do is still include the hardships to the child because, of course, that affects the qualifying relative. In different situations, there's more than what I mentioned of how fraud or misrepresentation can come into place. Another one that I can think of that is also a misrepresentation when you're getting your visa, making a misrepresentation to the officer. That's another common situation as well. And so what this waiver allows you to do is it allows you to be forgiven for the mistake that you made because it's recognized that, yes, you made a mistake. Well, okay, now it needs to be forgiven, and the US citizen shouldn't be punished as well. Your US citizen spouse or parent shouldn't be punished for a mistake. This is how you overcome that. Be forgiven, put the past in the past, and be in the present where you belong, because you should be able to be forgiven for your mistake through this waiver. Now, let's look at some more information here. One question that I get is that, well, what about me, as the beneficiary, as the spouse to my US citizen spouse, or my US citizen or parent? What about me in that situation, or my lawful permanent resident parent or spouse? What about my hardship? I'm gonna face extreme hardship. And I wanna say that I get it. I recognize that you're gonna face extreme hardship, but the government does not care about your hardship. It cares about the US citizen or lawful permanent resident. So that's also something that's really important to note, because I get that question a lot. Now, I wanna share a recent story of where we were able to get a case approved. Now, every case is unique, so I invite you to contact us to see if your case qualifies to file for a misrepresentation or fraud waiver. I'm gonna share this story with you. Of course, just because we got this case approved, I can't guarantee your case is gonna be approved, because every case is unique. So I invite you to learn more and smash that like button, and let's dive into it here. All right, this person, the mom was living in the United States. The son is living in Pakistan. And in this situation, he was charged with misrepresentation fraud, and therefore we filed a waiver to demonstrate that the mother would face hardship if her son wasn't able to live with her. Now, what was really sad about this situation is the misrepresentation came about because of nerves that, he was nervous when he had the interview. And so that's unfortunate, and that also happens a lot of times, and sometimes that can be misconstrued as misrepresentation or fraud because the person is so nervous that they end up saying something that they regret later on. So we were able in this situation to argue that because of her chronic medical conditions, including anxiety, including depression, that if they were not reunited here in the United States, that she would face hardship. Another form of hardship in this case was financial hardship. I always like to talk about financial hardship because usually that is a factor in most cases. And in this case, the financial hardship was if the son was not able to be here and work, that she has very little income to help support herself. So the son was critical in helping support the mom. And imagine, having an elderly person not being able to support herself. That, of course, is extreme hardship, and that's what we argued in this case. In this case, we also argued the mom's in a wheelchair, and if she had to go to Pakistan, there's a stigma of being in a wheelchair. The access to healthcare would also be an issue. So we talked about that as well and made an argument in our legal brief as well to help get the case approved. Okay, and a little bit of a correction. The social stigma that we talked about was about mental health and how that's treated in Pakistan. Normally in South Asian cultures, we're expected to be strong, figure things out on our own, and it's not really recognized that mental health is something that people have, that it's a normal part of everyday living, that many people have it. It's stigmatized. We also talked about how the son wouldn't be able to adequately provide for her due to the economic conditions in Pakistan. So by combining all of these factors, we were able to get the waiver, and he was forgiven in the immigration context for this situation so he could be reunited with his mom. And I love happy endings, to see, mother and son reunited. That's why we do what we do in our office. I invite you to contact us to learn more about whether you qualify, and smash that like button, subscribe, and until next time, thank you. Bye for now.